All right, so we just have three images here for shape, but I think they're really outstanding examples. This first image is by Hannah. Let's look at her setting. She's at ISO 100, 21 millimeters, so a wider angle lens, f4.5 at 1/100th of a second. 1/100th of a second, easy to hand hold, especially at 21 millimeters. And what I like about this image is that you got really close to your subject. So you're filling a good portion of your frame with the shape of these apples. And then beyond that, we can move back into the image and see the repetition of the apples. So it's not just here where they're really bold in our face, we see that repetition. And I think repetition works so well with shape, especially when it's out of focus. We don't need all of the detail there, but we need to know what that detail represents. So seeing this shape in the foreground really allows us to understand what's out of focus in the back of the image. And also it's working really well here is the light. So you have soft light on your subject. It's wrapping all the way around each of these apples, allowing us to have an area that's more highlighted on the top, and then underneath it falls off a little bit, but we're able to have detail all the way around. So there's still depth and dimension, but it's a soft light that's moving. The water on those apples is working really well also. And that's very similar to what we're seeing in this image. And this is by Nakia. And this is ISO 400, 75 millimeters, so a longer lens at f2.8 at 1/2000th of a second. So at f2.8, when you're shooting that with a longer lens, and when you're shooting it and you're focusing on a subject that's really close to the lens, the background falls out of focus. So longer lenses are going to exploit the wider aperture, and then getting closer to your subject is also going to push that. So this is a great example of having that shallow depth of field. Now, what's working well here is we have this long shape in the foreground of this post of some sort, and it has the holes in it, and it has the length to it. And then we can, just like with the apple image, see this in the background. So we don't know exactly what we're looking at, but we see this sort of shape with the holes in it repeated here. And then we see this, I'm assuming, building in the background that holds the same kind of color and same shape as the what's in the foreground. So that repetition of shape works really well in this image. And then this is our third image, and this is by Kayla. And you're at ISO 400, 49 millimeters at 5.6 at 1/200th of a second. So that's all looking good. You have great exposure. You can see you've utilized the whole histogram from the shadow area to the highlight area. Everything's used there. You don't have anything gets blown out. You don't have anything or very little that's getting blocked up. So this is a perfect exposure. And the shape that we're seeing is each of these leaves of this plant, right? We're looking at the shape of the leaf. We're looking at the repetition of the colors on the end of it being green and the inside being magenta. This would work well for that color assignment that you have coming up. And we're looking at the lines in it. So there's a lot of shape here. It's not just the shape of the leaf. It's not just the shape of the green. It's not just the shape of each of these parts. It's all of that combined. And then what you did that was really smart is you got close to your subject. So there's nothing around the edges that isn't related to your subject. Nothing is distracting us from this plant. And also by having it take up so much of the space, we also feel like it goes on forever. We don't have a point of reference. This could be like 2 football fields wide, or this leaf could be 3 feet tall, or it could be like this very small couple of inch section. We don't have any point of reference. So I think that's working really well for you here.